Thanks for joining us on a very special new segment. What do we want to call this, Ronaldo?
Segment, deeper cuts.
Yeah, FYC Deeper Cuts. We're gonna roll
Yeah,
with that until somebody gives us a better name.
I
Uh,
like that.
I'm your host Gagne, as always. With me, Ronaldo,
How's
and
it
we're here
going?
to talk about video stores.
Yeah, just wanted to talk about rental stores and the experiences that we had with them because there's no longer around. There's maybe a couple out there in the US, but they're gone. And they're gone because now we have everything at our disposal, like Amazon, Redbox, and everything you want is right there and there. But growing up with video rental stores, there was an experience to it. And we kind of want to talk about that, want to share our experiences with it. And some might understand it, some might not even get it. But our generation, we grew up with something called video rental stores. And what we did is we actually had to drive to a store, and we had to rent a video. And if it was there, it was great. If it wasn't, then we had to get something else. And we had to return it in about 2 or 3 days, depending if it was a new release or not. So that's where we're going to get into. We're going to go back into memory lane. We're going to talk about that, the pros and cons about video rental stores.
Yeah, and a lot of anecdotes, I'd say, on many fronts. One being where I'm currently recording from is home of the last Blockbuster video in the world.
Nice.
A chain that at one time, was synonymous with going to rent a movie, is gone and
Right.
has one location left. The tidbits are flowing on this one because I also worked at a video store. So it was
Nice.
one of my first jobs as a teenager in high school, and why I fell in love with movies. So
Yeah.
it's interesting because I feel like the way you say it, like we're dating ourselves, like it's so old, and like back in our day, it's
Right.
not that long ago.
No, it's not.
The window that they were and they weren't was like 25 years. I
Sure.
mean, that's insane to think about, that a whole industry just went away and or morphed into Netflix, or however you want to look at it now. But I mean, yeah, like you said, it was the thing. It was like, what on Friday night you were so looking forward to that drive over, pick up
Yeah.
whatever movie your mom or dad let you do, like let you pick out, if they let you
Yeah.
pick out anything.
Yeah. What is your first memory of going to a video store? Because I have mine when I was a kid, and I remember the first video that I can remember renting. I'm going to ask you what's your first memory of going to a video rental store?
It was probably, we grew up in the same town, which is hilarious. So it was not your video store, I don't think, but Blockbuster was probably
Blockbuster
my
was your
yeah,
first one.
yeah, it was
Wow.
the
Okay.
very first one in like downtown Concord, and just
Interesting.
yeah, like they always had popcorn smell going, which was similar to the movies, the movie theaters. They wanted to entice you to buy their snacks
Yeah.
there, which were also overpriced.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I can't recall like what film we picked up, but I mean, I just remember going religiously. Like that was a thing you did every Friday or Saturday night on the weekend.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm actually going to go back further in time because I remember being around six or seven, and this was the time when I was living in San Francisco. And I recall my mom and I going to a local video rental store. It wasn't your big Blockbuster chain. It was just this coming a mom and pop shop. And back then, they had these little rings on hooks. They had the movie on there. If there were three rings, there were three movies available. If there were no rings, there were none available. And I
Mm.
remember one of the very first movies that I rented was Pinocchio. And I
Mm.
loved it. It was one of my favorite memories as a kid is going to the video rental store by the laundromat with my mom to rent Pinocchio. And I remember going a lot. And then I think about it. I'm like, why didn't should have just bought me the video? But she never bought me the video, And then as growing up, like you said, we got introduced to bigger chains like Blockbuster, here on the West Coast. I remember Hollywood Video, Bradley Video.
Hmm.
Was it
Yeah.
Bradley Video?
Bradley videos where the adult films were.
Yes, Bradley
Uh,
Video, and there was another one called I think Video Outpost or Video Outlet. I'm not sure, but it became an experience for my family and sometimes my friends. As I was in high school, we would go and rent movies, and it was fun because you had no idea if the movie was there, the one that you wanted was going to be there or not. So you went in there with this kind of anticipation of like, oh, it's gonna be there, but I don't know if it's gonna be there. It was such a fun experience, even if you didn't get the movie that you wanted, and I miss that. I miss that experience.
Oh yeah, and it's funny you mentioned like the rings because I feel like that was synonymous with like your video store. Like everyone had their own little thing, you know, you had the little plastic tags that sat on
Yes.
these little crappy metal hooks and had numbers. And the video store I worked at was one of those mom and pop places, and it was in Concord. It was a very small mom and pop shop, and it was just one of those cool high school jobs where after work you worked for 4 hours and pretty much just put a movie on and talk to people about films and check movies in and check movies out. And it was the best because I just watched a bunch of movies there.
Yeah. Do you I remember going to Blockbuster, and at Blockbuster they would have this cart, and we would call it like the golden cart. And in that cart were all the movies that were being returned that same day. So you kind of wanted to gravitate to that cart first before you went looking around for movies, because you could always find like a new release in there. So as soon as you saw that cart, people would start running to that cart because those were the movies that got brought back and they were going to put back on the shelves to rent. So it's little things like that. I remember Bradley Video Store, they would have free popcorn every Friday night. So we made it a habit to go every Friday night, and even if you didn't get the movie that you wanted, you would still rent something, whether it be something you saw again or just something else that caught your attention. And it was very enjoyable. It was very enjoyable regardless of when you had to return the movie or not. Because back in the day, people, if it was a new release, you had to return it within like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
But if it wasn't a new release, you had about 3 or 4 days to return the movie. And you had to make sure that you rewound the video cassette, the VHS. For all those people out there, it was VHSs.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned, maybe your parents should have just bought you the film. That's why video stores did so well, is at that time that media was so expensive to create. Like VHS cassettes were like hundreds of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just bulky and heavy and hard to ship. And so like studios weren't even going to really mess with it. Like they had a good thing going. They didn't need to worry about that stuff. But when they did, the rise of video stores, like they could afford to buy those things in bulk and make their money back by charging you, $2-3 a rental, but they needed them back every day so that they could just keep doing it.
That's right. Yeah.
I loved that cart though. So good. How annoyed were, like workers as the people are like at the counter watching people like return stuff? You're like, can you check? Is that one? Can you check if that one is, what I'm looking for? And you're like, dude, just check out. It is not here right now. So I'm telling you, it's not here.
Yeah. I didn't even care. I just went to that cart and I asked questions and I looked and I'm like, oh, it's there. It's not there. I love that cart. And it's funny because if you were a member at Blockbuster, you got a card. And it was a cool laminated card that said Blockbuster. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was so cool because I had that card in my wallet. I felt like it was my ID. And it was great. And you showed it like, here's my card. So Blockbuster was like the main one. But then again, you had your other kind of like mom and pop shops or a little bit more that were just either East Coast or West Coast based. And like you said, some of them had the adult section. So let's talk about this because you can't ignore it. Some of them had a straight up adult pornographic videos. And I recall most of these, they had these doors that flung wide open.
Yep.
And it said adults only.
Yeah.
And you would really only see guys go in there. And I remember, my parents would kind of like, push this aside and kind of like make us go around or not even get close to that section. So it was very taboo. It's so weird.
Yeah,
man.
they always set them up to entice children of all things to go in there, in the sense that like you've got these swinging doors or these curtains, and as a child you're like, what's behind there? And you wonder, what is this? There was no like real security to it. It was just like, behind these little curtains here you've got magic, and nobody can go in there.
Nobody could go in there. Just the older men went in there and they would come out and it was like, oh, they just went in there. So, video rental stores. So, but there are some pros to what's happening now, where the video rental stores are no longer around. So some of those pros are that we get everything right away. That could be a good thing and a bad thing, right? You have your
Mhm.
Amazon, you have your Redbox, you have everything at your fingertips now. So you want to rent a movie, boom, you click a button and it's there. So that's great in a sense, but you miss out on the experience. Another thing that if you think about it, people who are disabled or handicapped or can't really go to the store, they kind of have that accessibility now where it's at their fingertips. So that's
Mhm.
a good thing. So
Sure.
but I still miss it. I still miss that experience of going to the video store with my friends and my folks. And it wasn't just videos that we rented. Sometimes it was video games when video
Games.
games
Yeah.
started coming out. And it
Mhm.
was fantastic because the video games you rented and you was sent back and you rent a movie. Sometimes if we were good boys, our parents would let us rent a video and a video game and a movie. And it
That
was
was like,
fantastic.
yeah, that was like top notch. You're just like, what did I do right?
Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah. Thanks. This must be a long weekend, Mom. That's why you're letting me do it.
Yeah, I mean, a $60 video game or a $5 rental, and you don't waste your money wondering if this game is going to be any good. You try it
Right.
out, and if it sucks, well, it's unfortunate, but it's going
Yeah.
back, and you didn't spend a fortune on that. There's a lot of good documentaries out there about this, you know, entire booming industry that just disappeared. And I was watching one because we're going to cover this topic, and it kind of showed like how Netflix came up, and they were truly like the giant killer.
Yeah.
Starting with their DVD delivery service, which I even miss. I miss. I mean, I guess Netflix still has it. Apparently,
Yeah.
you pay an extra service and still get discs mailed to you. But when they started doing that, that was like revolutionary. You didn't have to go to the video store. Instead,
Right.
you had it on the internet, and you had your list. And I don't know if you did this, but I had like this ever evolving list where I was constantly moving
In your
things up on
queue.
my priority and my queue.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's crazy to think about. Like, they came about in '97, and it took them a while to become what they are now. But they're synonymous with video entertainment, just
Right.
the click of a button. So it blows my mind that at one point Blockbuster had an opportunity to buy Netflix and they passed.
Yeah. Well, they tried. They tried to do what Netflix did, right? Because at a
After the fact.
point, yeah, they try to do the video by mail or the DVDs by mail, and renting it online.
Mhm.
And for a while, it kind of worked, not great, but then Netflix just kind of, like you said, was the giant killer. They came in, gobbled them up, and that was it. And the thing about this, the DVD renting DVDs online and getting them in the mail, it's fantastic. But because you really have no due date when you need to return them, there's been times where I had a DVD for a month or two and
Yeah.
I never watched it because I didn't have to watch. Wasn't in a rush to watch it. So
Yeah.
that's another thing.
They probably made a ton of money that way. People just,
Mhm.
with a $15 subscription who's held on to the same disc for 2 months.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
oh, I forgot where I put that.
Yeah. So that's another thing, whereas video rental stores, you had to return it at by a
Sure.
certain point. So you had to watch it, and Amazon kind of does that now, where you rent it online and it tells you got 2 or 3 days to watch it from the time you watch it. So that's a
Mhm.
good thing. But they also have the option to buy it. So
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't return videos, I mean, you had the biggest complaint of the entire industry, which was late fees.
yeah,
That would like kill your like, we're not going back to this video store because we owe like $40 in late fees.
yeah,
Or just for whatever reason or another, you're like ducking out on your bill, and God, they would get you on those late fees. I mean, Blockbuster made a fortune on that stuff.
sure,
I mean,
yeah,
just unbelievable late fee charges.
yeah,
So yeah, not exactly cost effective, but I'm with you. I mean, man, talk about a $5 rental for the entire family. It's incredible. I can honestly say I have gone to the Blockbuster here to have that experience again, and they have such like insanely good deals now. It's like $1 a rental, and there's no late fees or anything. It's all independently owned at this point now. There's no chains, and so you get that feel, but it's still not the same. It's not the
yeah.
same as like knowing that there was that new movie coming out. You'd always have the board that they had the coming
Yes,
soon, and
yeah.
their little magazine that you could take and you're like circling your
That's
calendar at
right.
home.
Yeah. It was
Uh,
fun.
yeah.
It was a fun experience, and that's what it was a fun experience. And for those people out there who know what I'm talking about, you guys rock. And for those people who don't know what I'm talking about, for the younger generation, it's okay. I understand. I understand both sides to it. Just it was an experience, and unfortunately, that's never going to really happen again because our technology is just evolving and evolving and evolving. And now we got movies, certain movies coming to streaming versus theater, which is another topic for another day that we can discuss.
Indeed, like I said, lots of documentaries to check out on this topic. There's one actually called The Last Blockbuster that came out last year, so check that out. There's a lot of people passionate about their video stores. I mean, it
Sure.
was it was an event, and I'm glad we got to talk about it for a minute. So
Yeah, absolutely.
hopefully you guys like our new little section, segment, whatever you want.
Segment.
We're going to call this segment. You're going to stick with that.
I like it.
All right.
I don't know.
Fine.
Deep cuts?
New-
Let's go with
new
deep
segment.
cuts.
Our deeper cuts. Our deep cuts. I don't know.
I like that.
It's something other than us reviewing older films. So we're going to go in a time capsule in a different way. And this is fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.